Welcome to Falling into 40 with Bailey and Jessica.
Welcome back to Falling into 40 with Bailey and Jessica. We are here again today to visit just a little bit, talk about some things. And our last episode, we talked about friendship and kind of highlighted what we felt like were important things and vital things to remember, and especially quality over quantity. So that's just a little overview of last episode. And today we are going to circle back to parenting because we know that those with children, young or old, and in between, it is not always rainbows and butterflies. So,
yes, and the last time we talked about parenting was kind of right before this crazy spring season just started, and it was kind of the calm before the storm for my household anyway. So we were coming off the holidays and feeling pretty joyous and good, but now that we have gone through the battle of the spring season and with a high schooler and elementary school and all of the end of year things that challenge us as parents, I think it's important to circle back to that. I have had some kind of reflection as a parent, especially with my kids' age gap, that I think it's important to talk about.
yeah, I remember we were all getting into that, ready for the hustle and bustle of wrapping up the spring season and ending it. Last time we did talk about it, and it went by so fast. It was just absolutely crazy. We had a big event. My oldest went on his first trip away from home. I don't know if we talked about that.
I don't think we did.
His first trip away from home with his school and his 6th grade class. And of course, I know lots of parents let their kids go to camps and do all kinds of things starting much earlier. But for our family, and every family's different, we have just never gone that route. So this was the first trip without me or my husband going, without his little brother going with him. And so that was a really big deal. And he went, and it was funny. They couldn't take phones, but there were 19 adults that went, and they could call at any time. And I had my phone. I was just waiting and waiting, and I never got a phone call. He grew up. He came back a man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But he said I asked him what his favorite thing was about his 6th grade year, and he said his 6th grade trip. So he is ready, and he at the school he goes to, they have a 6th grade graduation, and that's where they leave the grammar school and go to the upper school. And so we got to go do that, and that was pretty special. And so, lots of good there. And now we're on to summertime, and my other son ended up doing great, ending up with his 4th grade year. And so we're just sailing along. I mean, there were lots of bumps along the way, but we made it.
It was good, but we need a break. We needed this summer to come. So mostly with my high schooler schedule, and anybody who is a parent of a high schooler knows, once the school year starts, it is a hustle and bustle to the bitter end. And a lot of times you don't find out about certain things, especially all of these end of year things we just had with banquets and awards and all of those things. A lot of times you don't find out about them till just a few days before, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're going here today. And so it's just so unexpected and unpredictable, but it really ended up a very positive ending. We just had our dance recital last night for my daughter, and she wrapped up another year of dance, which is really sad. We've got 2 years left. they do a big recital and a small recital, and they alternate years. And this year was a big recital. And they do a mother-daughter dance. And then at the next big recital, they do daddy-daughter dance. And this year was her last mother-daughter dance. So we did that last night, which was, yeah,
a tearjerker.
It was a last. Yes. But then in 2 years, when they have another big recital, it will be the last daddy-daughter. So I think that one might be a little harder. And then my son wrapped up his 4th grade year, and it was good. And we are just really excited for summer. And in talking kind of about that, I kind of want to go into a little bit of reflection that I had. So I have a 6-year age gap between my kids, and talking about some of the nostalgic moments and wanting to hold on to things, with my daughter. She's going into her junior year, and I have even found, just even since she started high school, I'm just focused so hard on wanting to hold on to those moments and to capture all of the great moments with her, that I start to feel a little guilt about my younger child and feeling like, okay, am I putting enough attention and time and focus on him, or am I focused so much because we're experiencing wrapping up so many things and we're getting close to the end of our time with our daughter? And I know your kids are closer in age, but just that guilt of, am I spreading my time evenly with these 2 kiddos? And I know people with more children in different age group children probably experience the same things, but especially towards the end of this year, when it was so busy with my high schooler and we were doing so many different things, I always want to make sure that one is not left out or feeling bad or feeling like we're investing too much time in the other one. So just coping with that and understanding if it's okay, or, if I'm doing it the right way, is something that I'm struggling with a little bit.
Well, I think I think most parents feel like that, and especially moms. And I wish that we didn't struggle with that. But even with my 2 boys being close in age, I think those things, because the oldest one experiences things before the younger one does.
Right.
Such as this past year, my oldest got to play basketball with the school and a 6th grade basketball league, and there wasn't one for 4th grade.
Right.
And we were constantly at those basketball games. And my husband and I were talking the other day. We found some pictures and we were looking back, and I said, gosh, you remember how hot it was when there was a couple of years they played baseball, and my youngest wasn't old enough to play on this little travel league. And we were in Hobbs. We were talking about how hot it was, and it was just miserable. And I said, but do you remember our youngest was like, he just sat there and he watched. And I mean, so I think it's normal. You think about all those, when you have more than one child, there's going to be those things that they experience first. And so you are going to be going to those events and doing those things. But the second one will experience those things, and you'll be doing all those things with them, and maybe differently, because they're involved in different things. But I understand it's hard. And I think we have to just know that as long as we're doing the best we can't stress about it. And that's easier said than done, because you and I are both overthinkers, but we can't. We have to stop and just know that we're loving our children.
Yeah, that's just in reflection kind of the school year. I just thought for a second, like, well, I mean, we did all of these things, and kind of like you said about your younger one, we kind of drug him with us to all of the things, and he experienced them and he was a part of it too. But, you start to feel a little bit like, am I giving that enough time? Am I spending enough time there? And so just, all that mom guilt that you start to feel is real. It's definitely
real. It
real.
is real. We talk about social media a lot, and I think we should talk about it because that's what people live by a lot of times. That's where they get their information, and that's where there are good things about it, but there are also some bad things about it. And I recently saw a reel of a mom that went completely crazy at an awards ceremony because her kid didn't get an award. And this woman went berserk. I mean, she was screaming, and the principal was saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am so sorry. Ma'am, please leave." And so she was walking out, but the whole time she was just screaming, and her poor kid was following behind her. And it made me think about award ceremonies and the hoopla around them at the end of the year. And I was thinking back to when you and I were children, and I remember one tiny little thing in elementary, and it was like a straight A's thing or an AB thing. I don't remember in elementary school the big award things.
In 5th grade, they would give us like the President's Award or attendance because we were in the same elementary school for 5 years or 6 years or whatever. You know, if you were present all your entire elementary school was a big deal and all of this stuff. I remember that, but I don't remember anything earlier than that as far as yearly award things. I don't think we did that. I mean, it may have been different for other people not in our small community, but I don't remember that really being a big thing. We did like the musical programs and the little plays and stuff, but we didn't really have every year awards that kids were being recognized yearly until we got to high school. And then we had the academic awards where if you had all A's for the year, you were invited and presented with the award or National Honor Society or whatever, but it wasn't a big recognition every single year of
production. Well, when I was watching this reel, I felt sad for the mom in a way. I mean, her behavior was completely uncalled for, not acceptable. That's not how you behave. But I thought, everybody doesn't deserve it. I mean, it's like the trophy thing where we live in a society where everybody gets a trophy. But I also think these award ceremonies have created that. And I think it's so good to acknowledge kids that have worked hard. And that's what I think is important to acknowledge. Kids that have worked hard. But I just wanted to throw it out there. I felt sorry for the mom. I know she didn't handle it right at all. You can't do that. But I just thought, what if that woman's kid had learned how to read that year and had come a long way, and just she lost her marbles because she had felt defeated. And in a way, I just felt some empathy and compassion for her, and thought it was sad that it was a reel, you know what I mean? That it wasn't her best moment. And as a mom and parenting, we've been there where we felt our heart break for our kids when we can't fix the situation.
And I get that. And I think it boils down to, and I've read a lot and done some research just in my own life and heard people just even across social media and different magazines talk about allowing your kids to fail and how important it is to allow them to experience failure and then persevere through the failure and overcome, because that allows them to develop such important coping skills. And I think in this day and age, with the whole everyone is recognized, it takes that feeling out of it, that coping process out of it, where if you get the participation trophy, you don't get to feel that, oh, I didn't get the top 3 spots, or I didn't medal, or I didn't place. What am I going to do to fix it for next time? How am I going to get through this and overcome this so that next time I do, it's like, oh, I got this ribbon, you know? And so I feel like sometimes we need to teach our kids what it feels like to not win, so that they know either I'm okay with this and I'm going to just cope through it, or I'm going to persevere and I'm going to practice or do the things that I need to do to be successful next time. I just think that's so important, because when they become adults, which is really the end goal here, is raising these children to become adults who can be in society and be successful in life. And we don't want to raise adults who have difficulty coping with life's struggles. And there are going to be struggles. And if they can never understand what it feels like to fail, then they're going to have difficulty coping in the future.
You hit the nail on the head with that. As a society, we are failing our kids. I feel that we have lowered our expectations. We have become so obsessed with making it look perfect on social media that we don't realize that it's okay for our kids not to be number 1, 2, and 3. And it's okay to fail, like you said, but I think it's a parenting problem. I think adults aren't teaching their kids, you know. I've got 2 boys that are close in age, and they are competitive, and one works much harder than the other one. And the other one sometimes has a tendency to excel easier. Does that make sense? Without all the work put in. But when I'm talking about this with my oldest, I say, but you're putting in the work, and that builds character. You're working hard. These are good traits to have, and you are going to go far in life. And also, life isn't fair. We are not all born with the same talents and abilities. And so it's another thing to teach your child to know that we all have gifts and they are not the same. And it's okay to fail. And that's a hard thing to learn. And it's hard to watch. But if we don't let them, then that's on us.
Yeah.
Then you have adults throwing tantrums. And it is concerning. I worry about things that I have no control over, but I worry about the future that our kids are going to live in when they're adults, because they don't know how to solve problems. They don't know how to think outside the box. They know how to take standardized tests, and anxiety is on the rise, and there's reasons for it. And we aren't doing a good job as a whole to fix these problems.
Absolutely. And I mean, at the end of the day, we just want to develop and grow them as human beings. And we want to make sure that they have all the skills necessary. That's our job as parents, to become successful human beings. And I do worry a little bit because, like you said, anxiety is on the rise, depression is on the rise, and a lot of it has to do with these coping skills that are so lacking because of the society we live in. And so that is really difficult. I kind of want to transition into talking a little bit, because in the season that we're in, our kids are getting a little bit older. Your kids are 10 and 12. Mine are 16 and 10. And the parenting of these teen and preteen, or getting ready for the teenage years, and the difficulty with that. I know I have, especially a teenage girl, and I've talked about this a little bit, but the struggle of just navigating parenting of kids who were going through different changes and going through growing into older kiddos and all of the different hormonal changes and the different body changes and just fighting that a little bit. And so I actually saw kind of a list of things that would help with parenting this age of kiddo. And I kind of wanted to share that and go through this a little bit and get your thoughts on some of these things. And if you struggle with it or if you're seeing it or anything like that. And the first one is don't fight their independence, which is something that has been a wake-up call for me with my daughter, especially now that she just got her license and is driving. And I have this need and want to know all the time, like, has she made it from point A to point B? And no, I don't think you need to drive to that place or do those things. And so, and kind of not feeling rejected by the fact that she wants to go do things on her own without me there, and that they want to go do things with their friends instead of things with their family. And so the not fighting their independence is one that's been difficult for me.
Yes, I think as they get older, that's just something we have to face. And we did that, you know, our parents had to go through that, and it's hard. I mean, I remember when I went to school in Kansas City, when my mom and I drove up and unloaded my dorm room, and she had to leave me there, and she said that was one of the most heartbreaking moments, to leave her 18-year-old daughter in a different state and just hope and pray that I was going to make good decisions, that I was going to be safe. And having just a 10 and 12-year-old, I'm not there yet, but I can see the independence coming in small little ways. And it's a little bit scary. It is. One thing I know for sure is that you can never say never. You know, you should never say my kid would never do that. Because we also have to step back, and our kids are going to mess up. They're going to have to learn from their own mistakes, just like we talked about with failure. They're also going to make mistakes, and not all of those mistakes are going to be things that we are proud of. We are going to be disappointed. Our children will disappoint us. We disappointed our parents. Life is full of disappointments. But one of my things that I've been trying to reiterate with the boys is that I don't care where you are or what you've done, how you've gotten there. If you are in trouble, you know, if it's not calling for emergency help, you know, first or whatever that is, you call me. I may be disappointed, but I will never not love you for what you've done. My love is unconditional, and I can't communicate that enough to them, because I really want that open line of communication. And kind of a funny story, the way that we talked to them about sex for the first time. And actually, I knew we needed to do it because they were going to hear it from someone at school. And I want it to come from my mouth and to be the truth, and not from somebody that doesn't know what they're saying. So actually, we were in the backyard, and they saw the turtles, and the turtles were mating. It was like a National Geographic episode. And was very entertaining. And it was, they're stuck. Why are they stuck like that? Why is he leaning back? It got the question. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, well, So, anyway, it opened the door, and I actually, some people may think this is silly, but I ordered 2 books that a friend had recommended, and they are what we used, and it was how to tell them about what sex is, what it means, and from a biblical perspective. And
right.
so when we didn't laugh. It was just like we're talking right now. Told them what it
Right.
was, what its purpose was, what happens, how we procreate. And anyway, it was a really good conversation, and we've had several more since. And I just think that kind of thing has to be talked about, because if we don't have those conversations that are awkward, but they don't have to be, if we start having them regularly, then they don't have to be awkward. And then you can be the place where your kids do come to, or the person they come to when they are having an issue, and they can say, okay, you may not approve, but Mom, I don't know what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yes. And at the end of the day, it's about keeping those lines of communication open, no matter what the topic is, and making sure that nothing is uncomfortable or makes them feel like they're in trouble for something or anything like that. That you're an easy person to come to and have a conversation. And in talking about conversations, I want to talk about listening. It's me talking to myself. I talk to my kids a lot about things, but actually being an active listener to what they're saying to me is something that I feel like is an important thing to talk about, because, especially that teenage going into preteen age group, they are notorious for the one word answers or the one word conversation. It was good, or one syllable, yeah, great, sure, whatever. And it's our nature to respond and just want to constantly talk to them and just nag, when really they may just need someone to listen. And I am so blessed with the opportunity to have about 45 minutes each way in the car with my daughter on the way to dance class a few days a week. And so that is usually kind of my time to listen to whatever's going on. And I get all of the teenage high school drama, love triangles, all of that stuff. But I'm so glad to have it, because I feel like she can talk. But it is sometimes my nature to want to give like my motherly advice, like, well, you shouldn't say that, or to cut it off and give my 2 cents on it, when really she just needs that sounding board to listen to what she's saying. And even my son too, sometimes he'll get in the car from school and say something about something that happened, and it's 100% my nature to want to respond to it immediately instead of just listening to what they have to say. So I think the listening part of parenting is just as important as the communication part.
So, with that being said, I had a friend say the other day about her son that will be a sophomore. And she said, we're just going through the stage where it's, yeah, no, fine. And she said, he doesn't talk. He doesn't talk to me. And I can see, I don't know if it's more with boys. I don't know. Like, I was a talker, so I communicated. I wanted to visit with my mom about all the stuff. But I do ask questions, and one child gets in the car ready to tell me everything. So and so said this today. I mean, and it's like, oh no, unbelievable. That is wild, and then the other one is just like, yeah, good. And I had this conversation yesterday with my oldest. He went to the golf course. He went and hit balls. And then I got a text saying he was playing with 2 other kids. And I said, okay. So last night I said, well, how did y'all go about, getting together to play? And I don't know, why was I asking that? He said they came off of 9 and I was on the putting green. And I said, well, did they just invite you? Were y'all just talking? And I thought, why am I asking these really ridiculous details? And in my mind, I just wanted to know, was it weird? Was it awkward? Do you feel welcome? Like, did you have to invite yourself? And I thought, oh my gosh, I am making this a thing and it's not a thing. I don't need to know those details. It was unnecessary. And so for me, it's going to be biting my tongue and just letting them be who they are. And they're boys. And if they don't want to tell me every detail, I don't need to know it. And I watched something the other day, and it was a mom who had a daughter who was older and had gone to prom, and they had done all this extravagant stuff for her because that's what she had wanted to do. And by the time her son got up to prom, they had spent all this money on a tux, and she said it was like pulling teeth to even figure out what kind of tux and the sneakers and who he was taking, So then she couldn't even make reservations anywhere for dinner before the prom. I mean, it was just this huge deal, and it started to rain. It was pouring down. And she was like, well, what's happening? And he said, well, we're going to go to this taco place and eat before prom. And she said she was just about to say, why would you do that? It is pouring. She is in a beautiful dress. There's 20 of you. That taco place is like the size of this room. And her daughter grabbed her arm and said, let them, Mom. This isn't your prom. It's his prom. Let them. If that's what he wants to do, let them.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a mom of just boys, I'm going to have to learn to just let them. And in things where they're not in danger, not in critical situations, but stuff like that. Just if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. Let them. Don't make it a thing when it's not a thing.
I love that. Let them.
Yeah.
Because like you said, let them. If it's a total crash and burn, then it's a total crash and burn and they've learned a lesson. But what if it's something wonderful, and because you don't let them, they don't get to experience that? And so, yeah, I think that is 100% the perfect statement. Let them.
Yes. And the funny part was, so they ended up leaving, and the older sister was sitting there with her mom, and she was like, the mom said, well, her dress is going to be ruined. His brand new sneakers are going to be ruined. This is dumb. He didn't even have an umbrella. And the sister said, and,
yeah,
they'll either be sad, just like you said, they'll either be sad about those things, or they're just going to go on and laugh it off and have the best evening ever. And so there are bigger things to worry about. And I think that's what I get hung up on, are these tiny details that aren't going to be life-changing. And maybe they can laugh about it in years, but because we want everything to look so wonderful and perfect, we get in the way of that sometimes. I know I do. And so by just watching that, it was a good reminder for me. Things like that aren't priorities. And just let my kids be kids. And I think that's what we've gotten away from in the years of technology. And
it's so easy as a mom. And I think dads have a lot easier time with this, but keeping your sense of humor about things. And I think that is a very good example of that too. Some of the best memories are built from chaos. And some of the things you look back on and remember the most are built from those things that are out of your control that just happen. And those are things that you remember until the end of time. And so not wanting to just over orchestrate and control everything in life, and just being able to have a sense of humor when something doesn't go your way. And again, as a mom that wants to create these things for our kids, we think that it's our job to constantly make sure we build the perfect outcome for our kids, because we want them to experience things and have the best moments. But really, when at the end of the day, if you just let it be organic and let things happen, it's actually better. And when things don't go your way, or when things aren't perfect, being able to have a sense of humor about it, that at the end of the day helps you cope a lot easier with the struggles of parenting, because sometimes it's hard to have a sense of humor about it. And I often get called the fun police and things like that, because
I'm
I'm
called the
lacking
warden
in that department.
Yeah. Oh, here comes the warden.
The fun police. Yep. I'm the fun police.
I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'm not. I enjoy fun things, but anyway, it's just all such a process. And I found something a little bit different when I was looking at parenting trends of 2024. Some of them are, it's like, what in the world? But I did find something that I thought was really a smart, intelligent thing. This is, I think, important for young moms to remember, because we've already been there and done that and made the mistakes. But before you post a picture on any social media platform of your starting with your baby, ask yourself, would you want that picture put on a billboard? Because once you post a picture starting from when you have a baby, which we did that, it's their digital footprint. And even if you delete all of your social media accounts and back up your pictures or whatever you do, if you chose to do that, that digital footprint is already there. And so be careful. And as Bailey and I are both parents of 10-year-olds, and I've got a 12 and she's got a 16, if we want to post something about our child, it's important that we ask if they care. If we want to share a picture or we want to share something that they've done, to say, hey, do you mind if I share this? And one other piece to that puzzle is ask yourself, why are you sharing it? Are you sharing it because you're proud and you want your friends to know? Or are you sharing it to keep up with all the recent things you've seen? Is it a brag post that's not really about your child, but more about you? Just things to keep in mind. We've all been guilty of those things, but I wish that I had never made a digital footprint for my child. Mm-hmm. That's a regret I have with my parenting. I wish that I could go back and not make a post with a picture of my child.
Yeah. And as a mother of a daughter, I have been a little more careful, especially more recently, about that. I will say I'm 100% guilty. Earlier, even just a few years ago, I feel like during the COVID time, we all kind of went crazy and posted a lot more because we were in such a secluded environment. And I feel like I did do a little more like posting of the kids and what we were doing and things like that, because, what was there to do? There wasn't a whole lot to do. But I am a lot better about, like, I'll do something or it's it's a proud moment or achievement. And I'll say, hey, look at this. Do you approve? And it does. It makes a big difference. And especially now that she has her own social media, I don't want to overtake that either, because I want her to be proud of her achievements and feel like she can do those things and honor those things. And I don't want to overshadow that. So, yeah, I think that is important. And looking back on some, especially when memories pop up, I'm like, I don't think that was necessary.
And I think the big thing is the people that we have as friends on our accounts. Are they somebody that you had a one college class with, and
right,
you were like, oh, hey, Brenda, Nancy, I'm going to add you, but you've not seen them in 20 years. Okay, you're not friends. Delete them. Delete that person. You are not friends. And I just think we don't know so much about so many, and that's okay. We don't need to know, but it can be dangerous. And so we need to be mindful of posting those things. And another thing is posting pictures with other kids in them.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have permission, I don't know. I don't like that. And I have asked before the other moms and said, hey, do you mind if I post this? Because I think that's important. Just like a school, you have to sign that waiver, check the box. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's difficult when they're in group sports or group events that you're wanting to even just post achievements for family that doesn't live in your area or things like that, just to be mindful of that. And when they're in high school, that's very, very difficult, because these kids want to take pictures with their friends. They don't want a picture by themselves. I do think that is important. But with my older one, I'm not the greatest about that, because we all kind of share pictures and do things like that. So I'm thinking, when you're sharing with one another, that's kind of
it's a given.
Saying it's okay to post this. But with my younger one, I'm a little more mindful of that.
So as Bailey was saying, parenting has so many different ups and downs and challenges and triumphs, and the easy parts, the hard parts. It's full of all of it. And I have to remember to be calm and to let them, and just to embrace it and go with it, the good and the bad and the fun and the times that are difficult.
And I love let them fail, let them achieve, just let them. That is the moral of today.
If you're falling, if you're flailing, if you're walking, if you're stumbling, if you're face planting into 40, that's okay. We are too. If you're not even close to 40 or you're way past 40, we don't care. That's wonderful too. We're here and we want you to be with us, to share with us, and to keep listening. So thank you so much.
We're so thankful. Bye.
So thankful. Bye. Thank you for tuning in with us on today's episode of Falling into 40. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.